So we've got the fixed marker date. It's not really important to understand the nativity date when Jesus was born. When you say nativity date, do you mean 1 BC or 1 AD? Because year 0 is not a year. You have to keep that in mind when you're doing calculations. And it's also not really all that important to establish the crucifixion date, although we are going to use the April 3rd date for determining some things in the Daniel week prophecy. So most date calculation theologians, they count forward from an assumed nativity or crucifixion date. What I mean by that is they actually go into the archaeological record and choose to use archaeologists' assumed dates and then calculate things forward to come up with the nativity and the crucifixion. And of course, this thoroughly frustrates them because they come up with all kinds of timelines. So I think we can use this crucifixion date to count backwards into Daniel's 490-year timeline. And it's this process of counting backwards which is the big idea. So that's my idea, is to count backwards from the crucifixion date. Assuming April 3rd, 33 AD is correct, that will give us the dates that fall out in Daniel's timeline. Now, there's that date. We're going to use that one in this Bible study here today. So most end time guys, they'll take the archaeological record of the Medo-Persian kings and the declarations for the Jews to restore Jerusalem or the temple and then calculate forward. This has resulted in plenty of things that are wrong. So what is wrong? So when calculating Daniel's timeline with this forward dating method, the date of Jesus' crucifixion becomes very hard to pin down. And each writer comes up with a different year for it, like 30 AD, 29 AD, 35 AD, which also leads to a different year of nativity for his birth, 4 BC, 7 BC, 3 AD. So we're going to junk that method and use the backward dating method, the big idea. Isaac Newton was frustrated by Daniel's 70-week prophecy because he was a forward date-setting guy. And he said the end-time church alone would be given this knowledge by God as a kind of survival kit of wisdom, as chaos, environmental, and economic calamity would take the world into a fearful frenzy. I think the world is in a fearful frenzy right now. It just seems to be chaos all over the place, division, politicians wanting to appear on TV shows. I mean, it's just incredible what's going on. It's so if he was frustrated trying to use this to determine sort of when the temple would be rebuilt, he had a lot of assumptions that were wrong, I think. And so we're going to talk about some of that today. So he was trapped in the forward dating method, but Daniel 9:27, the Messiah cutoff, makes his forward dating method moot. I'm going to explain that in just a second. Daniel 9:27, the Messiah cutoff, and you're going to have to read that verse and determine what that means. So here we go. This is my assumption. In Daniel 9:26 and 27, you had to choose who was being spoken about in Daniel 9:27, either the Messiah or the destroying prince, the destroyer. For my purposes, I chose Messiah. It wasn't until John Nelson Darby showed up that people started picking destroyer. That was in the 18th century. He was an Episcopalian minister who started the Plymouth Brethren. And we'll see that Messiah was cut off in the middle of the last week, the 70th week. If that's the case, then the 70th week stopped at 69 and a half, okay, which would be 486 and a half years. So 490 years minus the middle of the week minus 3.5 years, that's 486 years or 69 and a half weeks to when Messiah was cut off, if you choose Messiah as so 3.5 years remain to be fulfilled in the 490-year prophecy. It's been stalled. Okay, that prophecy's been stalled at April 3rd, 33 AD. It took Titus 3.5 years to destroy Jerusalem and the temple from 66 and a half AD to 70 AD. We also know that it took Zerubbabel 3.5 years to rebuild Solomon's temple from 520 to 516 and a half AD. And it will take 3.5 years to build Ezekiel's temple by Jesus and the Jews and the church, which is the commencement of the millennium. That's what we have to look forward to.